Hello and welcome to another interview with the candidates for Secret Harbour by-election. We are very lucky and honoured to have Anthony Fels, sorry, I mispronounced that, Anthony Fels, who's standing for the Secret Harbour by-election. Do you just want to share a little bit about your background and what you stand for?
Okay, well, there's a lot of background, but I've been around a bit longer than most of the other candidates. I was a Member of Parliament in the past. I was in the Liberal Party for a long time. I ran with them 3 times before I was elected, so and had a lot of involvement in student politics before that too, so I was sort of pretty experienced in the game. Got in on my 3rd attempt. Lasted about 2.5 years in the Liberal Party before I saw the light and went independent. There was a whole lot of things I didn't like going on that do go on, and we were in opposition at the time. I think it gets worse when they're in government. But I've always been for a bit more free speech than is allowed in the Liberal Party and a bit more development of ideas and from everyone, not just the group that control it. But the thing that did it for me to want to leave in the end is when the Liberal Party did a deal with the Labor Party to bring in public funding of political parties, which was something the Liberal Party was actually, their policy was always opposed to that, and I was always opposed for it. But it was done on the basis, Jim McGuinty was a government Attorney General at the time and very high up in the Labor Party, but the major parties always want to get more money for their campaigning and everything else. I've always been a believer in grassroots support and having a strong membership that are believers and passionate about issues and get involved in the political process that way. Not just have a whole lot of money from wealthy donors or unions or whatever it might be to be able to push out their message.
And I guess the problem is then it becomes who's friends with the most people with the most money, and
well,
that kind of then influences policies, right?
I don't have an issue if anyone wants to donate to a cause. It might be the Animal Rights Party or Greens or whatever. They put in small amounts because they believe in it. Some business people put in big amounts because they might believe in the Liberal Party. But when you get into the millions of dollars mark, which it gets into, and you've got big corporates, Woodside Energy and BHP and Rio, all the big companies, Wesfarmers donating to political parties, and you think, all right, well, yeah, maybe they believe in what that party stands for, but then you look a bit deeper and you see they donate to both parties, and you start to think they want something in return. It's an investment.
The bets then.
I went to a Wesfarmers AGM 30 years ago and questioned Michael Chaney when he, in fact it was Trevor Eastwood, was chairman. Michael Chaney was company secretary at the time, about why they were donating to the Labor Party, the Liberal Party and the National Party. And the answer was that they supported the democracy in the political process.
Oh, okay.
And this is back when Pauline Hanson was just getting going, actually, and they were all against her at the time. And I said, well, why aren't you donating to Pauline Hanson? Or the Green, could have been the Green. But anyway, they shut down the question very quickly. Harry Perkins was chairman then. Didn't want any more questions on it. But I thought it was a pretty poor answer, and it's very obvious when corporations, when they're donating money to parties, like in places, New South Wales, property developers are banned now because governments are approving major subdivisions and rezonings and things and getting kickbacks from the developers, at local government level and state government level. And you see it everywhere, and it's always contentious. And then there's the issue, the unions put a lot of money into the Labor Party. Well, it's always been the case. The Labor Party's always been the unions' political. So I can live with that. I'm not so in favour of compulsory unionism. So when they're collecting compulsory fees from their members and then it's all going to the Labor Party, I'm not so in favour of that. But that's their issues. But that was the issue for me, why I eventually left the Liberal Party. I didn't vote for that legislation. I stayed in opposition to it. All of my Liberal Party colleagues crossed the floor. Like the Liberal Party wanted me out of the party. They said I'd cross the floor. I hadn't actually crossed the floor. I never crossed the floor. They crossed the floor and voted with the Labor government. And supported it. But the deal was done between Troy Buswell, who was the leader of the Liberal Party at the time. I think he might have been deputy leader at the time. He'd done the deal with McGuinty, because the Liberal Party's always scratching for money. I've known, I've always funded all of my own campaigns forever. I ran 3 with the Liberal Party. and I lost money. You know, you'd pay a deposit to the Electoral Commission, and the Liberal Party would get it back. It wouldn't even come back to me. Things like that. And plus, you're paying out of your salary to the Liberal Party, which is a compulsory levy they charge on members every month, and then you leave, and then you don't get any of the information you've given to them. They collect a lot of data on anyone who rings up the local member of parliament. Yeah, it's all logged into their site,
so they can access that.
So like now there's election kick-off. All the people in Secret Harbour will be getting emails and letters from their local member of parliament, Hasty, or the Liberal upper house MPs, the senators. They've all got a database. It's called Feedback, and you pay a subscription to that as well. But you don't get, once you're out, you don't get any access to it. So you fed in all the information. So you've got your electorate staff. They log in all of that every time they get a phone call, or they go through the newspapers every time people write a letter in the paper about an issue. Oh, wow. They look it up because they're exempt from the Privacy Act. So political parties, Labor, Liberal, Green, whatever they are, can get access to all of that information. And they do, and they scan it. Plus, there'd be AI, whole lot of advancements now in technology to harvest that information. So when there's an election called, you'll get a letter. If you're interested in mental health, you'll get a letter from your local MP about how much that party is passionate about mental health, because they know that's an issue that you're concerned with. If you're small businessman fighting over regulation of something in the industry, you'll get a letter just on that issue. Wow. Or if you're concerned about law and order, because they'll know if you've written a letter to the paper or Facebook comments, they know pretty well what people are interested in, and they're marked as whether they're soft Liberal, hard Liberal, Labor, Green, left, right, whatever issues they know.
There's a lot of information there.
So you don't know that unless you've been there, and I've been there, so I know. I've been involved in that since 1996 when I first ran with the Liberal Party, and that was the first thing they want us to do is get familiar with that program, all the information, and it's useful as a candidate too, because you've got the full database from the Electoral Commission of names, addresses, where people live. So when you go door knocking, you can go down the street, you know who's in the house before you get there, you know how many people are in the house, all that sort of thing. So there's a lot of information, and I've been out of it for 18 years, so it would have developed, technology and the digital economy has developed a lot in that time.
So what made you want to stand at Secret Harbour?
Couple of things. I've just re-registered the Western Australia Party, or we're now WA First. So I applied back in 2024 to get that party registered, had difficulties with the Electoral Commissioner getting it approved. He rejected it late in 2024, about 2 months before the election. Oh, okay. And once he's rejected it, you either have to wait till after the election to reapply, or you can go to the Supreme Court and ask for a judicial review of his decision if it was wrong. And I wasn't going to wait till after the election. We wanted to run in the election last year. So I went to the Supreme Court, and I was successful. We overturned his decision. But it took from November till 16th of January before we got that decision. It was delayed. We had, I think, 3 directions hearings, and then he conceded that he'd made an error. So I was successul.
So you're running as a WA First?
So I'm running with the Western Australia, WA First is our party name. But we were approved 3 weeks before the election, but under the Electoral Act, which is one of the thickest acts you've got, and it's very bureaucratic, and they've made it even far more complicated for small parties. I've been very supportive of minor parties, always have, even when I was in the Liberal Party. I thought it's part of their it's democracy. People, so. and independence. You get some crazy ones. You get a lot of crazy ones. But you get 1 or 2 good ones, and you're starting to see that all over Australia now. Is very soon we're going to have a government that's going to rely on independents supporting the government. There'll be a minority government, not just One Nation and Liberal supporting each other, but you've got half a dozen independents now around Australia, good ones. Plus you've got the Teals now starting to win seats around Australia. They've got 8 or 9 seats or something, which were all Liberal seats previously. So they probably support a lot of issues the Liberal Party wouldn't support, but they're constituents of people that would normally lean Liberal. So that's going to be interesting when you've got a government, federal government, made up of people who are representing those electorates that are a bit more conservative normally, and better off than the majority of the population in most of those areas. But supporting a Liberal government, for example, that they might not agree on their climate change issues and marriage equality and all that, which all the things that are dividing the Liberal Party right now. So that'll be very interesting. Yeah. But the good thing is I think it will have a more balanced government in the future when you haven't got parties and the power brokers in those parties dictating what the policy is and where the country's heading. You'll have a much broader group of people who are representative of everyone, which is what Parliament is about and the Westminster system is about.
And having lots of diverse opinions.
And more debate, more opinions, more compromise, coming to a consensus that everyone can work with better than either having Labor Party getting dictated to, for example, by the unions and the left or whatever, pushing various issues, or the Liberal Party getting pushed by the right, which it has been on an issue, and which splits a lot of people in those parties. And the ones who do want to speak up don't last very long. You know, they either become an independent, or they try to become an independent, or they give up and go back to their families and their businesses and whatever else they've been doing.
Yeah. Cool. So what's your vision for Secret Harbour? If you could prioritise 3 things that you'd like to focus on if you got elected, what would those 3 priorities be?
Number one issue for me, and I'd spend a lot of time down here. Yeah. I've been involved in the area for a long time. I've got some property down here. I'm down here most weekends and quite often during the week. Play golf in the area a lot during that time, and pickleball and other things. But the number one issue for me is getting down here on the freeway. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And it's 2 lanes once you get from not long past the Beelia exit. It cuts down to 2 lanes most of the way, and you're getting into the area where there's not so much development either side of the road. You haven't got businesses and shops and shopping centres and everything else. There's plenty of land there to widen an extra lane. I'd like to have 2 all the way to Mandurah, extras. So you'd have 4 lanes, not 2. Once it gets down to 2, once there's a lot of traffic, it gets banked up. I mean, it's only 10 minutes out of our lives, but it's annoying and it's unnecessary. And it wouldn't cost so much. You're not building bridges and expensive infrastructure to make the freeway wider, and it'd be safer. But you'd have at least 3 lanes everywhere, and where there's an exit, there'd be the 4th lane, and so it's not coming back down, restricting down to 2. Once you get past the exit, you've still got 3 lanes going all the way. And I'd even while I'm waiting to do that, I'd increase the speed limit, or look at that from 100 to 110 once you get past Thomas Street. Yeah. Which everyone probably does. 110. There's people going past me all the time, a lot more than that. But I don't know how much it's police. They probably know where the fixed radars are.
So traffic would be your
so that's the number one issue. Because I'm not just thinking about Secret Harbour electorate. Everyone who lives in Mandurah, people who go down to Margaret River the weekend, which I don't. I'm a farmer in the southwest, but I go down there a bit. But you don't want to go down after midday Friday afternoon, and especially on a long weekend. Yeah. And that's easy to fix. And Liberals should have done it when they built. I've been to China many times for business, and it's a very interesting country to look at. But you see them build a brand new city and all the roads and bridges and overpasses and everything before they even build the city. It's already there. You see new cities under construction. And our planners and government here are very short-sighted. It's a political cycle. They just want to get something done for the next 3 or 4 years till the next election, then they'll start talking about it again. And we're seeing that already with this Carnup train station that's not there. Yeah. The Liberals did the same thing with Ellenbrook. When I was in Parliament, they'd promised that every election and nothing ever happened. Then Christian Porter moved in from state to federal seat in that area, in Pearce, and then all of a sudden it was an issue and they hadn't done anything for 3 elections. Cool. So and that's how things end up happening. It's political, but there's got to be a longer planning process. People are coming out with all these problems now. I haven't been looked at. Well, I think Secret Harbour is probably better than most electorates around the state. It's fairly new. It's been better planned. There's problems everywhere, but I think Secret Harbour is probably better than most places around WA if you look hard enough.
So, what will be your second priority for Secret Harbour?
That'd be the first one. The big issue for me, I like to combine priorities. So everyone's talking about the Carnup train station hasn't been set up. You've also got the problem in Memorial Drive, and you've got it around this electorate too. You go down to Port Harbour, Port Kennedy.
Homelessness is a big thing.
Beach, there's homelessness. There's people parked there all night. Every night there's homeless people living in their cars there. And I think straight away the government can go in there, fence off 5 hectares of land, whether it's at the site where Carnup station is proposed to be or anywhere along that line, fence it off, build a temporary platform so the train can stop. It doesn't have to be every stop during the day. It might be 8 o'clock in the morning and 6 o'clock at night or a couple of times. But the people who want to travel to Perth for the day, they can park there all day, catch a train particular times, but put on water, sewerage, hot water, electricity there. And the people, because if you go to Memorial Drive, there's people living in tents, but there's some pretty flash motorised homes and caravans and things there too. And they might not want to pay a caravan fee. There might not be caravan parks around that they can go to, but there's no reason they couldn't go there at night. It'd be a safe place. It'd be fenced off. It'd be CCTV to ensure you know who's coming in and out, if there's drug dealers and whatever else going on. And the people who don't have anything would be able to get a hot shower in the morning. They'd pay something for it, $5 or whatever. People will pay $2 during the day. You might charge them $5 if they stay overnight, so they're not getting it for nothing. And I don't want it to become a squat, but you'd have somewhere for them to go without having to just... Because if we don't fix that now, it's going to get worse. It's not going to go away.
And it's such a big problem at the moment, isn't it? So traffic and homelessness, what would be the third priority?
Probably the one that might be of more interest to your listeners would be more work on mental health and the way that's run in the state. Because I've had first-hand experience with that, helping a good friend of mine who passed away in police custody with mental health issues. But I've seen how the government operate in that area, and it's not good. And when I was in Parliament, I sat next to Helen Morton, we were both in opposition. We both came in at the same time. She used to get up every night in the adjournment debate and talk about mental health issues and whatever. And then she became the minister and didn't get any better. You run into the bureaucracy. I don't know what it was. I was very disappointed. But I became friends with the guy. I met him through the Liberal Party, and then he was in the One Nation Party. He was on the desk with them. And he had some mental health issues for a long time. He'd been misdiagnosed in the first place and given a whole lot of drugs to treat with that, and which had messed him up a bit more, I think. And he'd caused me a bit of trouble when I first met him a few times. He used to stalk me and do things for various reasons. But then I thought I'll get a bit closer to this guy and rather than fight him or whatever. So we became good friends. I ended up being his administrator, public administrator, because no one else would. And during COVID, there was a lot of issues the government were not prepared for and had to deal with, and one was rounding up anyone with mental health issues that might have been an issue. So he was arrested in a shopping centre's car park one day, sedated, and never woke up. And so he passed away a couple of days later.
Sorry to hear that.
So that was a big shock to me. His brother rang me, and who's a professor of medicine. There's a smart, very intelligent family, to give me the news. And so we're all expecting he's going to go one day, but we weren't expecting him to go at that time. And then there was because it was a death in custody, there was automatic coroner's inquiry. Well, that took 3 years. They never contacted me, and I was the last person to see him. I'd seen him a couple of days before, and there's a whole lot of things. So I've seen the whole process, how things are swept under the carpet. Police were not trained and prepared to how to deal with that. When the hospital obviously made it. There was a whole lot of things.
Definitely a big problem.
So I'd be very sceptical about a whole lot of the processes there, how that was investigated. And then obviously the things aren't going to get fixed up if you don't get to the truth of the matter in the first place.
Absolutely. So we've got some questions from our listeners, and we've actually touched on a few already. So the homelessness obviously has been a big thing. The first one is about Penguin Island. So will motorboats be banned in the state-controlled saltwater marine sanctuary to minimise penguin strikes. What's your review on that?
Yeah, well, look, if there's penguin strikes, definitely. There's no reason motorboats need to go in there. You keep a safe, reasonable distance. And I have a lot to do with boating and fishing. I'm an amateur fisherman, and I'm actually a registered professional fisherman too. But
good.
I don't do it for a living. But if I want to go out with my friends on professional boats, you've got to be a registered professional fisherman. So that's why I have that licence. And a big issue for me as well is a ban on demersal fishing, which is again government bureaucracy. I think they've overstepped the mark there. I'll go out fishing. I mean, it's hard to catch fish, but we do catch them. If there weren't many there, I wouldn't get any, and I do, and I'm not a good fisherman. So, I don't think there's been a drop in numbers over recent years. So I'm very sceptical of the decision made by the government in that area. There's no need for motorboats to go into an area that if it's protected like that, and there's a good reason to. So I don't have an issue with that at all.
Cool. And what's your take on AUKUS? Would you support AUKUS?
I'm very sceptical of AUKUS.
Yeah.
I have been from the day it was announced, because you had Scott Morrison was Australian Prime Minister, Joe Biden was the US President, Boris Johnson was the UK. These are the three leaders. They're probably the worst leaders of each of those countries in all of that time, in my opinion. A lot of people might have liked Joe Biden, but he wasn't at the top of his game when that deal was done. Yeah. More importantly, it was done very secretly. No one knew about it until it was announced. Yeah. The Labor opposition supported it within 24 hours because it's one of those things, they're too scared not to, so they support it. And I don't think it's a good deal. It's $432 billion or something. When they announce it, you can be sure it'll cost a lot more than that. Our foreign debt at that time was about, I think there was a cap of 300 billion on it. So it's a massive investment for something we don't know really what it's going to be for a long time. Might not even need it by then. And it's to protect us against China, which is, the whole economy relies on exporting iron ore to China. So what are we doing? You know, we're getting all the money in from China to keep the economy going, and then we're spending it all defending in case they might come in here. There's a whole lot of better ways that the money could be invested, I'm sure. Yeah. I would like, if we're going to do something like that, I'd like to see a lot more Australian manufacturing in those defence industries. Yeah. Not at all coming in. Jobs, and even before that, when it was going to be the French submarines, and before that they were talking about Japanese. And our defence minister at the time, he said he wouldn't trust the Australian Navy to build a canoe, I think he said, which might be right, but there's no reason we can't start where the money that's going to get invested in this could build up a very good industry there in the future. Yeah. And then the third issue for me is, why are we doing it right here in Coburn Sound and Garden Island? We've got Exmouth up in the north, which is closer to where we're going to need to be anyway. I think we should be looking at more up there. There's already US bases up there, always has been. Yeah. Much closer to where we're protecting offshore oil and gas platforms and whatever else. I think that would be much better for that region as well. To if you're going to spend that sort of money, is develop that area, and it's a nice place to live. Yeah, Exmouth. Yeah, cool. Well, it's certainly a nice place to visit.
And the final question from our listeners is about the cost of living, which came up a lot. What would you like to see done to ease the cost of living for everyone?
Well, the main reason our party is registered is we want a better deal from the GST. And we were lied to by the Liberal Party. We were promised the GST was going to replace all the state taxes, and every dollar raised here would come back here. Well, it obviously doesn't, which is why our party got formed on basically around that issue. We just wanted a fairer share for WA. So I'd be in favour of scrapping the GST, because we're not getting it back. We went into that because it was going to replace all these state taxes, bad taxes, FID taxes, sales taxes. Stamp duty was meant to go away, and it didn't. And we're not getting the money back. You get a 10% deduction on everything straight away, which would reduce inflation. When the GST came in, we had a big jump in inflation because of the GST. If you take it away, you're going to have a drop of inflation straight away. There's GST on fuel, so you're going to have 10% cheaper fuel straight away.
Yeah.
Hamburgers, everything you buy is going to be automatically 10% cheaper. Now, all right, where's the tax going to come? Well, we don't get all of it back anyway, so we get, at the moment, it got down below 30% for a while, which is when our party really got going. We got 1,800 members. We've still got most of them. A few have died over that time because we've got a lot of elderly members in our party too. But we've still got a pretty solid base. We've got to look at the royalties that we're earning from our iron ore in the north and all the other minerals around the state and the gas, which we're getting nothing from. The Labor Party having a conference in Adelaide this weekend talking about a gas tax. And they're fighting, and this is the Labor Party, would love to get their hands on all that sort of money, but they're so enmeshed, and I talked about earlier about the money coming in from Woodside and oil and gas companies and all that sort of thing. They have a lot of leverage over the parties at their conferences. All the lobbyists will be there from those organisations. Very hard for Labor Party in government to go and do that when they're so reliant on the money that comes in and the publicity around it, and they don't want to fight another issue about a new tax. But we've got to look at that, and the Liberal Party have to look at that. They can't just say no. The level of royalties in WA on iron ore were the same as they were 70 years ago, before there was even an industry, and before there was even fly-in, fly-out workers. Whatever the royalties that were set up then was to develop the industry. Well, it's grown way beyond what anyone ever expected. Yeah. We knew there was a big resource there, but they're just increasing production year after year. The unions are now wanting a bigger slice of it all, but the people who own that resource is everyone in Western Australia. The public own it, and entitled to a bigger share of that. We don't have to put a higher tax on straight away, but I think in the future, as the prices increase, our royalty rate can increase. Yeah. So and if it goes,
that'd be a simple measure. Really,
it's under $200 a ton, under $100 a ton. Yeah, easy. If it goes to $200, well, let's get 12%, not 6%. Yeah. And because everyone's going to make money, and we can all share in it.
That's a very good place to end the conversation. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
It's been a real joy to talk to you. In terms of the election, so it's is it the 29th of August?
Saturday 29th, yeah. That's election day.
That's election day, and can people start voting already? Or?
Yeah, the postal votes will go out in the. If you want to have a postal vote, you can apply on the Electoral Commission online for a postal vote, and they'll send it to you, and then you got to get it in before. I think you got to have sent it before the Wednesday of the last election, like 2 or 3 days before the 29th. And then there's going to be early voting, and you don't have to have a reason for early voting. Before you had to go in and say, oh yeah, I'm going to be away that week or whatever. Now you don't need any reason. So more and more people early vote because they're busy with sport or family or whatever on a Saturday, or don't want to forget. Yeah. And that's opening 2 weeks before. I think the 17th. It's a Monday 2 weeks before. Yeah. So it'll go for 10 days at I think that's in Port Kennedy. I'm not sure. That'll be on the Electoral Commission website and be advertised, but there'll be one early polling centre there, and I'd say half the people will probably vote there over the 2 weeks. That'll be quite busy for 2 weeks.
100%. Yeah. So how do people get hold of you? Like, do you have a page on Facebook or?
I've just set up a page on Facebook, so I haven't put anything on there yet, but it's.
What's the page handle? Do you know?
It's Secret Harbour WA First.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Yeah.
And do you have a phone number or email anyone can get hold of?
Yeah, I've got a phone number. I'll give it to you. 0413 202 993. It's not on the I've got a different number on the Electoral Commission website, and that's because from past having been a candidate before, when you put all your details on there, you start getting spam from all around the world. Yeah. So I'll put it. That's a party email address, not my personal one. Yeah. But I can be contacted anthony@fels.com.au. Yeah. So I'm happy. I always like to have a number out there and be contacted.
And that's the best way. Like some of the candidates, we've really struggled to get any details, but yours was pretty easy. So.
All the major parties will just put an email address, and it won't even be them. I've tried to contact some of them, and you don't even get hold of them.
They're volunteers.
And I've been sending messages to Georgia Tree, the Labor girl, because she wants a debate, which I'm all in favour of public debate of all the candidates. So she keeps saying, I challenge all the candidates to debate. So I've posted on a Facebook, I'm available, I'd love to do it, and send her private messages. Or I got a message back last night from Team Georgia saying, we've passed on the details, we'll get back in touch. And then, but she's still putting out there saying, "Oh, no one's got back to me. No one wants a debate." Well, I've spoken to a lot of the other candidates, and they all want to go because they all want to participate. Same with your radio show, which I only heard through the Legal Cannabis Party. Actually, I saw they were on a couple of days, 2 days ago. So I thought, I'd love to join any chance.
Yesterday or the day before, how many people were standing? Because we've been chasing up the others, but
So they're more and more. I've mentioned to a few of them about it, and they've been in contact, and one was in this morning. I know that, and it's all good. So I'm all in favour of everyone getting a fair exposure, not just Labor, Liberal and One Nation, which is where the major media are going to spotlight on. So I'm a big supporter of independent media. Have a lot to do with WA Media News. I don't know if you know them, but there's a guy.
He's an amazing guy.
He's an amazing guy.
We had for dinner because last year I think for Christmas and he has another YouTube channel where he does trains.
That's right.
And it's amazing.
He loves that. Yeah.
We're going to have to leave it there, but thank you so much for coming, Anthony.
Thank you.
And we wish you all the best with the campaign.
All right. And anytime there's a discussion and you want anyone in,
we'd love to.
I'd be much happier doing a live show.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but this is all right. But live's better.
Yeah.
Because you can't be edited.
We'll bring you back. We just wanted to get it quick because of the newspaper.
Get it out.
Maybe next week we can get you.
No, if you're doing any more bring all the candidates, bring 3 of the different. I'm very keen to talk to the major parties because I know how they operate and happy to. I can question them on a whole lot of things. They're double standards all the time.
Awesome.
Anyway, it's
good. Thank you very much. All good.